Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. I am recording this video on Friday because I don't do any kind of work whatsoever on Saturdays. It's family day. But you need to stock up on your wood, toilet paper, and beer because old man winter is coming back, and it's coming back with a fury. Before we start the very many things that I want to talk to you about today, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to let you know that OUPES is having a giveaway on their YouTube site. So if you go to their YouTube site and you subscribe and you leave a comment under this video right here, which I will leave a link for on the pinned comment, you will be entered to win one of 4 OUPES 600s that they will be giving away. I believe it's on the 15th of this month, but I'm sure you can find out more information when you click on that video. And you have nothing to lose. All you do is subscribe, leave a comment, and then if you win, you win, ladies and gentlemen. And they don't have that many subscribers, so you probably have a pretty good chance of winning something over there. Old man winter to plunge Europe and the US into deep freeze after mild December. Now, we've had a very mild December here in Alaska, and as I've stated before, is that whenever we enter into a grand solar minimum, that Alaska itself gets warmer. But now they're saying that this polar vortex is going to be coming down onto the US and Europe, and it's going to cause havoc. So ladies and gentlemen, get prepared now. And for those of you that may be new, all I do is skim through these articles and I leave you the links to all of them on a pinned comment so that you can go and revisit them if you'd like. And here on X, formerly known as Twitter, they're saying stock up on wood, toilet paper, and beer. The polar vortex is expected to sink into southern Canada towards the middle of January. So ladies and gentlemen, you're finding this out now. Go ahead and get prepared now. And for those of you that may lose power and don't have backup power, that should be your priority, in my opinion, is to have backup power to make sure that you can stay warm in your house. However, I just did a video where I reviewed a sleeping bag that can keep you warm during the coldest of times. I was able to stay outside in the sleeping bag overnight at about -17, being the lowest that it got in temperature. And guess what? I have all of my digits, no frostbite, and I was nice and warm throughout the night. And I'm going to be doing videos like that on a continuous basis to share with you all of the things that you can do, that if it is successful outside, then it would be most definitely successful inside of a home. Now, finishing this one off, they say that London is expected a record low of 19.4 degrees Fahrenheit on Monday. Further north, folks in Stockholm are bracing for single-digit temperatures on Sunday. The impending cold snap in Europe has led Finland's transmission system operator to warn customers about using electricity during peak morning and evening hours. Ladies and gentlemen, get prepared, for goodness sakes. You know this ahead of time. You have time to even get the basic preparedness items that you may need in order to get through a power outage situation. Because whenever we have cold snaps, a lot of times what happens? The system is overtaxed and we have power outages as well. 2024 will be a year of chaos, and I've heard this from other outlets, not only Natural News. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that there's a lot of things that are going to culminate into one big chaos event or chaotic event. Why? Because the system, the oligarchs, the people that want to control us, that is what they thrive on. They thrive on chaos in order to try to make us think that we need them. But I digress. New data indicates there is worse to come from the banking crisis that began in 2023. And if you just look around, if you just take a little peek at what's going on with banking, with the economy, with the finances of the United States and around the world, ladies and gentlemen, how can you not think that there's going to be some kind of a financial chaos? Heck, I believe that the financial chaos that we are about to face has started all the way back in 2008, and it's just been held together with a little bit of digital duct tape, and now that tape is coming apart, and we will have to pay the piper for all of these years of money creation, for all of these years of low interest rates. Banks are closing down their local branches at alarming rates and have laid off more than 60,000 workers just in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Bank of America is now providing loans without down payments. Does that remind you of something? 2005, 6, 7? where banks were pretty much giving out loans without even requiring anyone to let them know whether they were employed or not. What happened with that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, just take a look back there and see what happened. I lived through it. I'm sure that many of you watching this lived through it. It's going to happen again, but it's going to be a lot worse. Customers or banks are being alerted to the impending wave of branch closures that is expected to occur in 2024. And here they're talking about the UK, but the same thing is going to happen here in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. U.S. office buildings face $117 billion in debt. Mortgages due this year threaten to sink the U.S. economy as thousands of workplaces remain empty. Billions of dollars in loans on office buildings that are about to come due could play havoc with the U.S. economy after interest rates soared. A big chunk of this risk of defaulting and costing banks and developers huge sums, sending some into insolvency. A lot of bankruptcies are going to take place. A lot of people are going to lose their livelihood, ladies and gentlemen. And in the end, in my opinion, they will be coming after your pension. So you're going to get stuck with the government debt and not the other countries. Now listen to this. Let me go ahead and take a little side note on this one. What's happening is that the world is waking up to what the U.S. has been doing, the U.S. government has been doing for many decades now. They've been printing funny money out of thin air, and they've been getting real stuff for it from other countries. Now other countries are waking up to this. So now when the U.S. goes out to borrow money, not many countries want to lend money to the U.S. because they know that the gig is almost up. So what does the U.S. have to do? Well, there are tens of trillions of dollars in pension funds of your money that's in your pension. And what are those pension funds going to do? They're going to start to buy U.S. debt with it because the U.S. can no longer sell their debt outside of our borders. So you will get stuck with the U.S. debt. And when they start printing money out of thin air again, like drunken sailors, guess whose bonds are the ones that are going to be affected? The ones that your pension funds are holding on your name. And here they continue to say that 40% of office loans on bank balance sheets were underwater, meaning that they owe more on the loan than what their asset is actually worth. The prospect of widespread default and subsequent dips in demand could stifle construction and development in major U.S. cities. Well, ladies and gentlemen, continue to prepare because listen, all of this news that I go through, this is why I started going through this news only like twice a week, because everything that I talk about in these news articles, yes, it's okay for us to stay abreast of what's going on currently, right? But everything that I talk about here, there's one solution and one solution only, and that is to stay prepared. Because what can you do on a personal level about these banks defaulting? There's nothing that you can do about them defaulting. What can you do about a hedge fund that controls your 401k, taking your pension money and putting it into government debt? There's not much that you can do about it because most 401ks are limited as to where you can place your money. So get prepared the best that you can with all of those things that you know that you need in order to sustain you and your family's standard of living. Because what's going to happen to the United States of America, unfortunately, and I say this with a heavy heart, is that we will turn into a third world nation. So you're going to have to be prepared no matter what. And ladies and gentlemen, there are a few things that I just can't talk about, but take a look at this. I mean, are people starting to wake up? Are people starting to wake up that we're going to see a lot of XS people leaving this earth in the physical form? Let me put it that way. What we will see is completely unprecedented in terms of the magnitude of the wave of morbidity and, unfortunately, mortality, up to 30 to 40% for those people that maybe took the juicy juice and all of the others that they offered after. I'm not saying this as oh, I told you so. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to see the mortality rates, in my opinion, of people that did that go up. Why? Well, ask yourselves why, and I'm sure that you'll find the answer. Now, this is a great article. Apocalypse Now, the government's use of controlled chaos to maintain power. AP, you're such a conspiracy theorist. All you have to do is look around. Operation Northwood, Operation Mockingbird, Operation Paperclip. Just go on and on and on. The Gulf of Tonkin, weapons of mass destruction. Ladies and gentlemen, all you have to do is look for yourselves. The media tries to keep us as uninformed as possible accountable to the things that really matter, and they try to hide by omission those things that really, really matter so that we don't have time to look at them. Will 2024 be the year that controlled chaos finally gives way to an apocalyptic dismantling of our constitutional republic, or what's left of it? Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in interesting times, and I do believe that the times that we're living in, especially for the next decade or so, will be written about in history, and we'll be telling our grandkids, yes, I remember those times, and we did win back our republic. I believe that good will always prevail over evil. Our schools have been taken over by ideologues, ladies and gentlemen, shaping the minds of our young in order for our nation to fail in the future. Now, do you have time to research all this stuff? That's why a lot of people say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, because they don't have time to research this stuff. You know, I hope that some people wake up because of the videos that I put out enough so that they can do a little bit of research and they can see, oh my goodness, are you telling me that the Federal Reserve is not federal? That they have no reserves? And that they're stealing my money through the power of inflation for the entirety of my life, of my being here on this earth? Are you telling me that that's true? Well, if we don't say it and people don't listen to it, then they'll never find out. So that's why we have to continue to talk about these things and continue to let people know, because too many people are only looking at what's right in front of them. And what is that? That's rent. That's car payment. That's money for gas, money for food, money for heat. That's what's right in front of them. Those of us that take the time in hopes that you will wake up and understand that the world that you live in is not really the world that you live in, but that if we want to leave a life, a world for our children to be free, for them to live their best lives, that it is we that have to be informed, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's not just inflation that's going to make the price of things go up. It's what happens around the world as well, ladies and gentlemen. The Houthi butterfly flaps its wings. And what are they talking about here? That the things that are going on halfway around the world, those things have a direct effect on our lives, on our standard of living. And here they explain it pretty well. Kirby was then asked by a reporter, talking about the person that's being interviewed, whether the spiraling situation would become pocketbook issue for Americans, meaning that is this stuff that's going on in the Red Sea going to affect what's happening here in the United States and other Western nations as far as how much it costs us to live? And he replies, right now we haven't seen an uptick or a specific effect on the U.S. economy, but make no mistake, this is a key international waterway. Why should you care? Why should the United States care? Why Americans need to care about this and think carefully. If the strait is blocked due to rocket fire and the subsequent suspending of maritime insurance, meaning insurance companies saying, hey, we can't insure your cargo because the area that you're going through is too dangerous, then the canal is inaccessible, right? And that means you've got to sail around the Horn of Africa for goods to reach Europe and the West. It's going to add a whole bunch of miles to their trip, and that's going to end up making the cost of cargo way more expensive than what it already is, ladies and gentlemen. Shipbroker Braemar said daily shipping costs for a tanker from the Mediterranean to Japan through the Suez jumped from $8,000 a day in December to $26,000 earlier this week. That's more than 300% of what the original price was. So do you think that's going to have an effect on the final price of whatever product it is that's being shipped through there? And a quick warning from Peter Schiff. He says that 2024 could be horrible for the dollar. Goodness gracious, the dollar is already in horrible condition. People look at the dollar, at the Dixie, the DXY, and they see it going up and say, oh, the dollar is doing good. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand that the DXY's measurement is the dollar against other fiat currencies that just aren't doing as good as the dollar. But the way that you gauge whether the dollar is doing good or not, is how much is it buying you? How much more do you have to work to afford the same life that you afford 2 or 3 years ago? I actually covered that on my last news video, that now the average American family has to pay an additional $14,000 and change dollars a year in order to afford the same standard of living that they did before this administration took office. And real quickly, he has three big reasons as to why the dollar is going to do worse in 2024. The first one is the Fed wants to boost this administration's re-election. The Fed chairman, he says, always wants to play ball with whichever administration is in power. U.S. economic strength rides on inflation. I don't even have to read into that because it's true. Whenever you see that interest rates go up, which means that the cost of borrowing dollars is more, what happens to the economy? It goes down. Whenever you see that interest rates are synthetically brought down by the Federal Reserve, you see that money is easier to borrow, so the economy goes up, but it makes everything more expensive as well. So number 3 says that U.S. trade deficits contribute. There's no way that inflation is going to come down in an environment where the dollar is that weak, because that's going to really push up commodity prices, okay? That's going to push up our trade deficit as well. So more commodity prices going up means it's going to cost you more to live, more trade deficits. What's going to happen? The government is going to print more money because they can't tax you any more than where they're already taxing you. We can barely live now as Americans, right? So they can't tax you anymore. So they're going to print more money, bringing inflation up even farther. It's just a loop. It's a snake eating its own tail, ladies and gentlemen. These big trade deficits are going to weigh heavily on the dollar. As long as the U.S. continues to run these deficits, the pressure on the dollar will persist. And he finishes off by saying, meanwhile, investors are flocking to other safe haven assets like the Swiss franc in 2023. The franc was up 10%. Something else that investors are flocking to, ladies and gentlemen, including central banks, including citizens of other countries, not the U.S. as much, is gold. Is stocking up on gold and stacking up those silver bars as well. And I'm not going to cover this very much, ladies and gentlemen, because everyone is covering. But my question is this: why in the world is it that it's taken so long for this to come out, this list to come out? Why in the world is it that it's up to the media, whether a citizen media or mainstream media or what have you, to get this information out there, to demand that this information be put out there? Why hasn't the government, who is supposed to uphold the law and especially protect those of us which are the most vulnerable, children, why haven't they done anything about this? Does it make you think that maybe they're not on your side, ladies and gentlemen? I would say probably not. Anyways, I hope that it would allow you to think twice before you think that government's going to take care of you. They don't even want to take care of children. Do you really think they're going to take care of you when you need them the most? And Elon Musk says the public should be made aware of this. The largest migrant caravan of 2023, known as the Poverty Exodus, has recently departed from southern Mexico, comprising of 15,000 individuals from 24 countries en route to the U.S. border. And check this out. Incredible, ladies and gentlemen. U.S. southern border invasion is likely being organized by a network of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, some of which are funded by you, Mr. and Mrs. America, the taxpayer. Again, do you really think that the government institution is going to be there for you when you really need them? They weren't there for the kids, and they're still not, because they're more concerned about their comrades than our children. And they definitely are not there for you, because now they want these people to come into our country and overwhelm our systems. The Cloward and Piven strategy. All of this stuff that I've been cussed at, that I've been talked bad about for the years, talking about the Cloward and Piven strategy. Who's ever heard of that? A strategy that's been used in the United States for decades in order to bring us down. It's now playing out. But yeah, you're a quack. Well, guess what? It's you and your children, those of you that have been calling truth tellers quacks for all these years, that will suffer. If you're not prepared, ladies and gentlemen, you will suffer more than those people that are. So get prepared at the very least, no matter who you are or what you believe. And of course, what's the government doing to stop this migration of illegal immigrants through our southern border? Well, the Justice Department sues Texas over new law cracking down on illegal immigrants. So Texas passed a law, I believe, that says that if they catch someone who's not here legally, that they can ship them back. Well, now the Justice Department, who is in charge of upholding the law in the United States of America, as per the Constitution of the United States of America, are saying, hey, you can't follow the law, Texas. How dare you follow the law? We will tell you when you can follow the law. And sometimes we've asked and been labeled conspiracy theories as well for asking, why are they letting all of these people in? Why? Only citizens should vote in America, says Gingrich. And I agree with that 100%. It took me a very long time to become a citizen of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The next step in radically changing America is now underway. City officials in our national capital plan to allow non-citizens to vote next year. And I've been hearing about this. I'm pretty sure that you have as well. Let me know if you like this format, ladies and gentlemen, where I just go over a little bit of an article and provide you with a link so that you can revisit it. Also, providing you with chapters. That way you can skip from article to article if you're not interested in any specific one. But here it says, make-believe crisis. All right, the entire climate change scam is nothing more than a means to control the masses, enslave them through this warped ideology, and siphon billions from the very taxpayers they are misleading through their sophisticated propaganda campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a quick story. So, you know how I've been getting shadow banned, in my opinion, here for a while now. And shadow banning is when YouTube doesn't recommend you to even your own subscribers or community members, as I like to call you all. So YouTube is not even recommending my videos or to most of my subscribers, maybe to 1 or 2% of my subscribers is YouTube recommending my videos. But anyways, I contacted my representative at YouTube that I've had for probably over a year now, right? And I asked her, I was like, hey, take a look at this. This is one of the videos that you guys were recommending, like normal, a few months back. Everything was normal back then. I was getting pretty decent views. It was because it was being recommended, right? And she writes back and says, yeah, it looks like something's going on. Let me get back to you. You know what she got back to me with? Saying, hey, I can no longer be your representative. Thank you very much. If you need anything, contact YouTube support. So, ladies and gentlemen, telling the truth does have a price. It costs usually the person that's telling the truth, or at least parroting the truth as we see it on the news medias that we follow. So I do appreciate you if you're still here, especially to this part of the video. And please give this video a like. Please share it. Let's not allow them to keep us quiet, ladies and gentlemen. I knew that one day this would come, and that's okay. If it has to come, it has to come. But let's not go down without a fight. And you can think what you wish about this. Gold set to make history in 2024. I think that 2024 and beyond is going to be extremely bullish for gold and silver. Why? Merely for the fact that the U.S. government has nothing that they can do except to print. All right, ladies and gentlemen, they can only print and try to print themselves out of this mess that they've printed themselves into. What do I mean by print? By printing money. They will finish destroying the U.S. Federal Reserve note known as the U.S. dollar. And those that are left holding U.S. dollars or left holding paper assets that are denominated in U.S. dollars will lose everything, just like that pension you have that is a digital asset in U.S. dollars, unfortunately. So let's get into this just for a little bit. The Federal Reserve ended its rate hiking campaign last fall. It is expected to pivot toward monetary easing later this year. That should work to the benefit of gold and other hard assets. Why? Because inflation is going to tick up. Very simple. All right. If persistent inflation pressures force central banks to keep rates elevated, meaning not to bring them down, then stock and bond markets could tank, possibly taking down precious metal markets with them, at least temporarily. And that's exactly what would probably happen, is that when the stock market crashes because rates are too high and the dollar's too strong, then also gold and silver will probably crash too temporarily. Why? Because the people or the hedge funds, whoever it may be, the traders that are on leverage in the stock market, they need liquidity. So they'll trade in their gold for fiat to pay off their debt, and then the price of gold will go down, which will be what, ladies and gentlemen? What will that be? If the price of gold and silver go down in the next year or two substantially, like by a couple $100, let's say it goes down to $1,800, what will that be? That will be a great buying opportunity, in my opinion. It will cost the government more than $1 trillion this year just to make the interest on our debt. Interest payment, that is. Taxes can never be raised high enough to cover these massive obligations. And what's going to happen? Since taxes can't be raised high enough, they're going to print and print and print, and we're going to get stuck with the bill in the form of a cheaper, worth less dollar. So stock up not only on everything that you need, but also stock up on a little bit of precious metals. I'm not a financial advisor. I have to say that because I am on the internet. And I will finish it with this because too many people think that breathing is bad for the environment. Climate scientists say we should embrace higher CO2 levels. While governments pour billions of dollars into lowering CO2 emissions, several climate experts say CO2 is essential and higher levels are not a problem. I will let you come over and read this one for yourselves because it speaks the truth, and I've already spoken enough truth, ladies and gentlemen, where this video is probably already demonetized. So I hope that you got something out of it. Thank you very much for all of your support. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.